This is a Becket Keys Year 11 RP video for students wishing to revise key topics regarding sanctity of life, abortion and euthanasia. Sanctity of life is a key term in the Religion and Philosophy GCSE. We need to remember that all life is regarded as sacred by Christians because it is God-given. What do we mean by sacred? Well, things that are sacred are connected to God. They're special in some way. And there's obviously something special for Christians about human life. There's something that feels different and significant about human life above and beyond any other life. There's something different about humans, our ability to connect with God, to be able to empathize with other people, to have a conscience. There's something that feels significantly different about our life to other animal and plant life. But life itself is mysterious and incredible. No matter how hard anyone has tried, no one has ever managed to create life. We always use life to make more life. Reproduction is sacred somehow for Christians. Precious, sacred, holy, coming from God, connecting us to God. And this short video will build on this idea of sanctity of life as we look at that in a little bit more detail alongside abortion and euthanasia, which are key topics in the GCSE. Outside of Christian views, there's also the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So these are humanist views. These are good human views regarded as true for most people in the world. So in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it says everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as race, colour, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth or status. So what does this mean? It basically means that there's something special about life itself, regardless of what background you have, what wealth you may have, that there is something special about all humans, and so everyone has rights. So some things that you need to know. In Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it says all humans are born free and equal in dignity and rights. In Article 3, it says everyone has the right to life. So Christians will say that life is sacred because it's God-given, but even outside of that, everyone signs up to the Universal Declaration of Rights. Christians and Jews would argue that these are God-given values and would talk about the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not murder, or thou shalt not kill, is a well-known one of the 10 sayings, the 10 Commandments. So you need to have a grip on all of these things to use them in your answers and score good marks. Here's a good number for you to remember. 181,600. Even if you can't remember it exactly, it's a good number to know. This is about abortion. This is the number of abortions that took place in the United Kingdom in 2005. For most people, they would say that's higher than they expect, but abortion is very common in this country. There are various reasons for abortion, and it's a key concept that you need to know about for the GCSE exam because it links tightly to our views around a right to life, around sanctity of life. If life is sacred and special, and if life is to be valued, is it right that that many lives are being ended in an abortion? It's good to know some reasons for abortion. I often remember these as CM, like centimetres, I suppose. Babies are aborted when they are, a fetus is aborted when it's very small, only centimetres in size. So it helps me remember some of these reasons for abortion. Casual sex, crime and career, the ones beginning with C, sometimes A lady may have had casual sex, fallen pregnant and doesn't want the baby, may have been a victim of crime, and it may be the wrong time for her in terms of where she wants to go in her career. So there's 3 there that begin with C. If you need more reasons, then we've got 3 here beginning with M. Firstly, medical. Sometimes there's a problem with the baby, and so to protect the baby from having a life of difficulty, it might be aborted whilst it is still a fetus. There may be a medical problem for the mother. That means that childbirth is going to cause her serious problems, and so to protect her from those, the fetus may be aborted. And the last M is a little bit of a trick, really, but it's embarrassment. And sometimes a woman might be embarrassed about the fact that she's had sex. Maybe it was at a young age or with someone who she wishes she hadn't had sex with. I suppose it could link to casual sex. So here we've got a number of good reasons for abortion. You'll have your own views about which ones are stronger than others. Okay, so you'll notice as I was talking about that slide, I slipped up and I said that abortion is when you abort a baby, and it's important that we get our words right. Abortion is when you end the life of a fetus, and this links with this next section about when does life begin. Is a fetus, an embryo, really alive, or is it only alive once it's been born? Is this embryo alive? What do you think? I'm going to go through a few slides quickly now about different times in fertilization and in early developments of a fetus. Day 1, fertilization, some people would say that is when life begins, when the sperm meets the egg. At that stage, the unique genetic blueprint for the whole human being is formed. So some people would say right from that very early stage, there is something there alive that has the potential to become a human and needs to be protected. At week 6, brain waves are detected. So some people would say up until week 6, the brain isn't really functioning, so it's not really alive at that point. Week 11, it's often around this time that a mother would have a scan, and at this point the main body systems are functioning, even to the point where you can see babies, or the fetus, grasping, yawning, feeling, smelling. These functions are starting to exist. At week 20, doctors believe that the fetus can recognise the mother's voice. Week 21 to 23, very few babies would be able to survive at this stage. Here you've got a picture of a little baby's hand holding on to the doctor at a very young age. Week 38 to 40 is where most babies are born, and at this age, obviously, the baby is able to function and able to survive outside the womb. So is that the age when a baby is finally alive? Once it's actually born and breathing its first breath, it's cut from the placenta, so it is supporting itself at this stage. Right up until this point when it's born, it's only surviving because of the mother. So some interesting debates to be had around when life begins, and this all links back with our original question, our original theme, Sanctity of Life. So the other side of that is euthanasia, and I've got a few Bible quotes here that are very useful for both of these topics. I'll show them to you again at the end. You might want to write some of these down. This one in red here is from the Old Testament. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. So Christians and Jews would say that they use these words from the Bible to prove that God knows us before we're born, before we're even in the womb. We've been set apart. Talking about sanctity of life, God says in Genesis, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness. And in the Psalms it says, you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. Some great verses here which you can use in the exam. Try and write them down on some post-it notes and have them up around your house so you can look at them. You don't need to know them word for word, but if you can remember them, you'll do well. So some key terms again here. Sanctity of life. Life is sacred because it's God-given. Euthanasia, inducing a painless death with compassion to ease suffering. Some call it a mercy killing, whilst others see it as taking a life and call it murder. It all links to quality of life and how happy someone is with the life that they've got. You need to know the difference between voluntary euthanasia and involuntary euthanasia. Voluntary euthanasia is when a terminally ill person asks a doctor or a friend to help them die peacefully and with dignity. It can be called a mercy killing or assisted suicide. Involuntary euthanasia is when a patient's life is ended because it's felt that to keep them alive is to make them suffer, but the patient is incapable of giving consent to the decision, e.g. they're in a coma. And then there's the difference between active and passive euthanasia. I've got an example here of a good answer that you could use in the exam. So again, you might want to try and copy this out, write it down, remember it. Active euthanasia involves taking deliberate action to end someone's life, e.g. giving a lethal injection to a patient, while passive euthanasia involves withdrawing medical treatment, e.g. not giving a patient food and water to end someone's life and to stop their suffering. Sort of question that could come up in the exam. Explain in detail why some Christians would argue that euthanasia is not acceptable. So 6 points that you could make. God gives life. Suffering is a way of strengthening your faith, trust, and recognizing that your life is always part of God's plan. You could talk about the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill. You talk about the sanctity of life argument, and life is sacred and God-given. You can talk about the alternatives that are available, e.g. hospices instead of euthanasia. And you can use some of those Bible verses that I presented to you earlier and I've put again here. Okay, so this is a quick video looking at sanctity of life, thinking about why life is special, why it's important to Christians, and linking that to abortion and euthanasia. I hope you found it useful. Thank you.